was trying to atone for his past as a criminal. But now to bring Hal back as an intergalactic space cop, how could that be pulled off? And whether you like the Parallax as a fear entity retcon or not, you have to hand it to Jeff Johns for coming up with a storyline in which he gave a plausible explanation as to how Hal could be pardoned for his part in such events as Emerald Twilight and Zero Hour. I mean, you also have to give credit to Johns for not taking prior decades worth of stories and retconning them out of existence. So everything that happened in Emerald Twilight and in Zero Hour and Final Night, that stuff all happened. Jeff Johns just wrote the story in such a way that a new perspective was given on what happened with Hal in those stories. And the wonderful thing about Green Lantern Rebirth for Alan Scott fans was that not only did Alan have a role to play in the story, but it really meshed with Alan's general place in the DCU, and that he wasn't the guy who came in and delivered the final knockout punch, but he was the one who would come in at key moments and do something that would ultimately help turn the tide or allow the one who was delivering the knockout punch to go ahead and complete the job and save the day. And so in the opening chapters of Green Lantern Rebirth, readers saw Alan Scott looking rather unwell. His daughter had to help him walk around. He was talking about how he felt so tired and he felt so hungry and so thirsty. And yeah, I mean, Alan would eat and drink because this was all part of him holding steadfast to his humanity. But even he knew that he didn't have to eat or drink to survive. Those were things that he did. It's just part of his routine. He did those for pleasure, but he never really talked, at least seriously, about how he was feeling hunger or thirsty. So that seemed quite odd. And there was a lot of chaos going around at that time. Guy Gardner's human DNA was overriding his Voldarian DNA. John Stewart was becoming increasingly aggressive, especially towards Batman. Hal Jordan was completely out of control as the Spectre. Kilowog, who had been recently resurrected, had become this seething, angry beast who wanted to kill. And it all turned out to be Parallax making its final move to take full control over the Spectre and also reach out to others and influence them using the power of fear. And in a confrontation between Alan and Parallax, who still had physical control over Hal Jordan and the Spectre at that time, Parallax revealed to Alan, who it referred to as the elder statesman, that Parallax was the one responsible for Alan's hunger and thirst. Parallax had been trying to reach out to take control of Alan until such time that Parallax realized that due to the fact that Alan's power came from a different source, that would not be entirely possible. And so Parallax proceeded to attempt to consume Alan Scott, quite literally. And unfortunately, at that point, that was where Hal, having learned that he wasn't Parallax, that he had been serving as the unwilling host of the fear entity for some time, finally gathered the willpower necessary to separate himself from both Parallax and the Spectre. And then Hal will go on to be reunited with his body, transformed into a Green Lantern again, and Alan would collect the other human lanterns minus Alan and take them into space to combat Parallax. However, the trinity of Superman, Wonder Woman, and especially vengeful Batman tried following after Hal, Guy, John, and Kyle. And this is where Alan stepped in. It's some really nice artwork by Ethan Van Sciver to go along with Johns' writing. Alan erected a huge wall of emerald flame in space that kept the Trinity back. And he said quite simply, leave them, let the core do its job. So again, he wasn't delivering the final blow, but the fact that Alan was able to keep the three members of the Trinity back allowed Hal and the others to do their job and get Parallax back into the central power battery. Okay, I think I have time to talk about one final story arc from the first volume of JSA, and it was titled JSA, or JSA/JSA. Kind of a neat play on those annual pre-crisis JLA, JSA team-up stories. In this case, it was a team-up of the present-day JSA with the JSA from 1951. And in this story, another longtime JSA foe, Per Degaton, came back. And this time, his plan was twofold. One, he was employing agents to help wipe out members of the present-day JSA or their loved ones, while his plan was to go to 1951 and engineer an event which would leave the JSA branded as traitors, and it would force them to retire without any possibility of coming out of retirement in later years. And so there were some interactions between past and present members of the JSA who shared the same moniker. For example, the two Mr. Terrifics, Michael Holt and Terry Sloan, both met up. The two Dr. Midnights, Charles McNider and Peter Cross, met and found a sense of kinship in one another. Johns, who was by this time the sole writer on JSA, used an element from James Robinson's Starman and the Golden Age, in which Courtney Whitmore had to go to the institution where Starman Ted Knight was staying and seek his counsel. And the really neat thing about this storyline was that we didn't see present-day Alan in the storyline, but readers did get to see the 1951 Alan Scott in the climactic battle. So again, something fun for fans of the older JSA, fans of younger 1940s, 50s Green Lantern, getting to see him in action once more. And the JSA story would act as a lead-in to Infinite Crisis, or maybe more of a tease at this point. Basically, as the present-day members of the JSA were making their way back to the present, they hit a time anomaly speed bump, if you want to call it, in 1985, which made Power Girl, for a moment, separate into various incarnations of herself. And this set fans all of Twitter saying, okay, well, clearly this is a sign that we are going to get that long-awaited true sequel to Crisis on Infinite Earths. And of course, Power Girl star was on the rise for some time, so there was a lot of excitement regarding Power Girl, and there were fans saying, well, maybe this is where her murky, convoluted post-crisis history is finally going to get resolved, and maybe she will be revealed to be the Earth 2 cousin of Superman. And looking at the timer, folks, I think this is probably the best stopping point for this third part of episode 116. So I will start up on part 4 by looking at Alan's part in Infinite Crisis. Certainly a tragic moment in Alan's life was about to come for him. Something that would have some important consequences for Alan for at least the next couple of years. So, folks, that will come your way in a couple of weeks. If you want to get in touch with me before then to share your insights on some of your favorite Alan Scott moments from the pre-Flashpoint era, please feel free to email me at comicsandhistory@gmail.com. Alternatively, you can go to Facebook, like the Comics and History Facebook page, and leave some Alan Scott related feedback there, and I will endeavor to include it in the show or in a postscript episode. So until another 2 weeks have come and gone, everybody, this class is once again in recess.